Hello everybody and welcome to round 9 of the 2021 GP4 Offline Championship and the 300th top class race. We are here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg for the running of the Austrian Grand Prix. I'm your main commentator for today, JW97. I am joined today by the man who joined me in the commentary box yesterday during the World Champ Car race. It's Dennis Graff.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. And as I said, it's OC 300 as I like to dub it. Yeah, it's great to be here.
300 races. This series has been around for a very, very long time, and we're still kicking today. And it had to be the fancy era that plays host to the 300th race here at Austria. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who ends up winning the 300th race. And of course, it does mean it's also the 300th Grand Prix for Joseph Willows. So because he's been in every single top class race, hence why he gets the old man jokes. But anyway, as we are getting ready then for the practice session, I should say, not the qualifying session.
We're not at qualifying yet.
I'm skipping the gun there, but without further ado, let's get into the practice session. Now, there are a couple of test drivers we need to note, of course. We do have Adam Chobot, who's in his booked session for today in the Williams in place of Felix Sontag, so it's his booked session today for Williams. And we also have a requested one, and it's quite ironic that Dennis is in the commentary box for this one, because he always seems to turn up whenever his driver is in the test driver car. Yes, Dennis Graff is in the Ferrari again. Who are you in place of? Because that wasn't really mentioned in the briefing.
Jake Galloway.
Galloway, the man who won last time out at the French Grand Prix. So Dennis Graff is out there for Ferrari, and we have Adam Chobot in the car for Williams. But there's also something else as well that we've kept a secret from you. You'll see it in just a bit. So if we go to the Mercedes garage,
Ooh.
there it is.
Oh.
There is a special livery for Mercedes. Now this livery was requested by reigning champion Franco Lopez, who requested to use this livery because he wanted to make a cheeky little dig towards Red Bull Racing, given that this is their home race, by having a massive monster logo slapped onto it, and also using the I keep forgetting the flavour of it. It's the with the skull on it. It says it actually on the side pods. It will actually jig my memory, but there is the special livery. You'll see it out on track in just a little bit. But once you see it, guys, what do you make of this special Mercedes livery that is in progress? I hope Franco Lopez likes it, because I have worked hard on this one. So that's that, really. So a blue and black Mercedes with a bit of orangey yellow to go with it. And in fact, a Mercedes is going out on track, although I do think he's been beaten to the punch by two other cars, judging from the mini-map. Who is out on track first of all? Well, in fact, we'll have a look at this Mercedes first, shall we? Well, first on track is Jesus Perinen. But let's see this Mercedes in action then, shall we? As they come trundling down pit lane. As we'll look to see what it looks like from the sides. As Franco has actually approved of it. So here it is then, the blue Mercedes, to basically take a little jab at Red Bull, basically. As let's have a look then. So here it is then, the blue and black and slightly yellow Mercedes as well. You'll see from the side pods. There it is. As I think it's called Rocco Juice, if I'm not mistaken. I think Franco Lopez can correct me, because I'm not too familiar with Monster, to be honest, because I don't really drink it. So, but here it is, and what do you guys make of it in the stream chat? So that's the livery they're using for this race. It will revert back to when we get to the British Grand Prix, but that's the special livery that they will be using. So that's pretty much that, really. So that's how it looks, as we'll be now going towards the it's Mango Monster. So thanks for that, Franco. It's Mango Monster, the actual flavour that's being showed on the sides. But anyway, that's the Mercedes done with. Let's get back to the action, because we know that Perinen is actually first on track. As Perinin, of course, still yet to get his first win in the series, of course, but we might as well talk about that French Grand Prix, because Jake Galloway, surprisingly enough, Dennis, took his second ever victory this season. Well, not second ever victory in the top class, his second victory of the season, I should say. Quite a dominant performance for Jake in EM, which has lifted him up to fourth in the championship.
Yeah, it was an absolutely deserved win for Galloway back in Paul Ricard. He absolutely was, I would say, class of a field. He had the dominant strategy, great pace, yeah, very deserved victory, and also very deserved driver for the day, even if it's shared.
It is indeed. As we now look at George Roque, who's having a bit of an oversteering moment through into the left-hander there as he's coming up towards the end of Sector 2, so already his first lap kind of in the bin there. But George Rowe, pretty decent performance, it's fair to say, over at the French Grand Prix, although he did feel a little bit aggrieved after the race because he felt he should have had second place if it weren't for a certain back marker that got in the way. He felt that had Rahul Patel not got in the way of him, he probably would have got second off of Peridin. But in the end, that didn't happen. But it has been the last few races. It's fair to say, Dennis, that for a couple of races this season, George has slowly started to have the edge on Franco Gamba. Gamba's just not been on the pace recently. It's fair to say.
He's struggling quite a bit in the last few races. I think maybe could be words that he's retiring at the end of the season, but I'm not sure. It's definitely a bit too. Wait, I don't know what I was saying there. But yeah, I mean, he needs to get his form back. But as I said, Rogue had the edge on him in the last few races, and he will hope that it will continue like this.
Yeah, especially given that he's got a reputation of being a second half of the season merchant in the series. Jesus Perinin, of course, was the guy who got second place in the end of it. Still yet to get his first ever victory in the top class, but his consistency is really keeping him in this championship fight so far, Dennis. So you would think that at some point he's got to get a win, because in this series you can't really rely too much on just having consistent results. You've got to get a win in there somewhere, and he's come close on a couple of occasions, but still yet to get that brass ring.
Yeah, but as you said, the consistency for him so far is absolutely important for him for being at the front. I think, how many poles did he get already? 4?
He's had quite a few, it's fair to say, this season. Well, it's obviously a lot more than one, which has kept him in it, but we'll double check on that. He's actually had, if I scroll down, he has had
4.
5 podiums, actually. He got a second
5,
in Australia,
actually.
a second in Baku, a third in Portugal, a third in Spain, and a second in France. So, there we are.
Very impressive season so far from Jesus.
Very impressive rookie season, but you have to wonder at some point, that first win that a lot of people are predicting he should have, has to come quite soon.
Yeah, I'm predicting it to be coming quite soon. Actually, because he's having great pace, but so far something is missing at all races, but only tiny bit, because of one driver being better at least all the time. But if that doesn't happen, then Jesus should be able to grab his first win at some point. I hope it's coming soon.
Well, you'd have to hope indeed. Now, for anybody who is wondering, of course, this weekend it is sign-up week, of course. The 2022 sign-ups officially open. And, there's a lot of excitement around one team in particular that has been causing quite a lot of headlines. We alluded to it yesterday, but I know that everybody wasn't watching the World Champ Car stream yesterday. But, there was a bit of big news coming in regards to the top class, because next season there will be a 6th manufacturer on the grid, as it was announced on Sunday that BMW would be returning to the top class in 2022 for the first time since 2009, of course, and they would be forming a partnership with McLaren, a bit of a reunion from their Le Mans days, of course. And, BMW McLaren F1 team, it will be known as next season. And it will mean that McLaren will be splitting with Renault at the end of the 2021 season. And it's fair to say, a lot of people were surprised by this news, Dennis.
Yeah, indeed. Me included, because I definitely didn't expect it. BMW to return. I think I'm not the only one to say that this was a huge surprise. I'm glad to have BMW back. Of course, it's a German engine manufacturer, so yeah. Also exciting for McLaren.
It is indeed, and it will be interesting to see how their partnership will go. They'll be hoping it will be similar to the partnership they had with Mercedes from 2006 to 2009, of course, because before Mercedes actually bought into the Brawn GP team, McLaren were effectively the manufacturer Mercedes team, because they sort of dictated who got the engines, who got Mercedes customer engines, really. But obviously they became just a constructor from 2010 to 2014 after Mercedes, of course, brought the Brawn GP team. But they'll be hoping it will be as successful as the partnership they had from 2006 to 2009, especially given it here in the OC, they won the first 3 titles of the top class, of course. 2 of them coming from Joseph Willows and 1 of them coming from Yuri Marta, of course, in 2007. They'll be hoping it goes in that direction and not in the same direction it did when they had Honda from 2015 to 2017. They'll be hoping that's not the case, and they'll be hoping this partnership with BMW is a successful one. And one person who'll be hoping it'll be successful, providing, of course, he stays at McLaren, of course, will be, well, in fact, for both cases, really, will be Joseph Wells and Kirishima DeRosa, providing, of course, that both of them stay on at the team for next season. They'll be hoping that the partnership will be successful, Dennis.
Yeah, of course, they're hoping it. But as I said, it depends on if they are actually staying in the team. And yeah, but I actually think if nothing crazy happens, they'll stay there, and they were hoping that the partnership is a success.
Well, we're hoping so indeed. And speaking of which, we're looking at one of the McLarens, that being Joseph Willows, who currently lies in 8th position. Of course, it is his 300th Grand Prix, given that this is the 300th top class race as well. So he'll be hoping to do well on his milestone in the top class, of course, as he'll be looking to have a good result here at the Austrian Grand Prix. Of course, this race was where he actually won from 18th on the grid back in 2017, so he has got some good memories from this track. As meanwhile, we're looking at the man who's currently at the top of the timing sheets, that being Chris Chatfield, who, it's fair to say, I think I mentioned this with Ra at the last race, Dennis. He's been a guy who has had some really strong pace, but it's always been a case of what if for him this season, and I think at the French Grand Prix, it was another case of that.
Yeah, because I actually don't know where he qualified in that race.
Actually qualified in 4th. It was actually quite a strong weekend for Ferrari in the end.
Yeah, but in the race, it sadly did not go off that well. He managed to score points, which is at least something, but it could have been better for him. Also, the what-if situation was, of course, in Spain, where he got pole but retired with the puncture. So yeah, for him, bit of also unlucky. He also have 3 retirements. Yeah, hopefully he turns his luck around.
Just want to mention as well, a little bit earlier on, you might have heard a bit of drilling from one of the commentary boxes. I do apologise for that. For some reason, somebody's drilling where Dennis is, and we've got no idea why. We actually could put a little bit of a joke in our little chat where somebody's going a bit mad with a power drill. So that's that really. So apologies if you hear any drilling. It's not there for the moment, but you may have heard one a little bit earlier on.
Construction workers at my place.
Yeah, we actually, me and Yuri jokingly said that there may have been a motorbike that was actually being ridden in Dennis's house, but we wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Let's just put it that way, because otherwise, I don't think we don't want anybody to have the police turn up at their door. Let's put it that way. So that's that really. Unless it is legalized in some countries, then I wouldn't recommend doing it. But I can't stop.
Also,
it, so...
one thing I would like to mention at the moment is look at the top 6. It's within 1/10. That shows how short this track is and how competitive this field is at the moment. So it's very exciting stuff.
94,000's covering the top 6 at the moment as one of the drivers. Well, I thought Perrin was in that top 6, but clearly I read that one where Perrin was actually overtaking someone. Anderson going a bit wide there. I wonder if it had something to do with that McLaren that's just behind, because it is quite a common trait around this circuit. Just trying to have a look in the mirror to see if it had something to do with McLaren, and it was. It was, I think, DeRosa trying to get by on Anderson into the first corner, and it's fair to say Julius got a little bit spooked out there by Kiro.
Yep, indeed. I think he knew that Kiro was behind him, and it could actually be that he took evasive action, because you never knew what can happen at this corner if someone on the inside gets a lockup or something.
Yeah, indeed. And, well, it will be something to keep an eye on. Now it's the top 7 who are separated by just under a tenth, because Perinen has got up into 6th place, and he's only, 2 thousandths behind this man right here we're looking at, Franco Gamba, of course, who we talked about a little bit earlier, really needs to get his form back, because he lost a couple of more points to Omar Carr in the championship, and it just seems like on his side of the garage recently, Dennis, the strategy department have not really got it right for him.
No, not really. In the last race, he only finished in P6, which was, of course, not that satisfying for him. But only after after the first 4 races, it seems like he was the main championship contender here. But in the last 4 races, he's only scored 10 points with that engine failure in Monaco and the crash with his teammate at Portugal. So he really needs to get his fade on if he wants to retake the championship lead in the next few races.
A common speech that is used in the OC there by Dennis Graff. So, as we now look at Roland Motrin
I'm not
now.
creative.
Yeah, well, that's not me agreeing with you there. That's just say, never mind. Anyway, so anyway, meanwhile, Anderson is the only driver at the moment who's over a second off of the man who's currently at the top, that being Chris Chatfield at this point in time, as Roland Motrin comes into the pits. We might as well talk about Aston Martin because it's fair to say they got a little bit lucky with getting a point at the French Grand Prix due to a penalty that Laura Chung received after the French Grand Prix, a 25-second time penalty, which does remind me, of course, we do have two drivers who actually have a grid penalty for this race, of course. We have Roland Motrin, who we're looking at right now, who, of course, has a 5-place grid penalty for a collision that he caused with Laura Chung, but we also have Evan Byrne as well, who also has a 5-place grid penalty for a collision that he caused with Rahul Patel. So that's something to bear in mind. 2 grid penalties. I can't remember the last time, to be honest with you, where we had 2 drivers with a grid penalty in the same race, but that is something to bear in mind about when we come to qualifying a little bit later on. But yeah, it was a bit of it was kind of a shame really that Roland kind of let himself down a little bit there at the French Grand Prix, because he was having a very strong race and looking like he was going to have a very high points finish, but he basically let it all slip away really.
Yeah, sadly for him, it was a good race, as he said, but in the end, one mistake can ruin everything, and that's what happened sadly to him. And yeah, he could have scored a few points or even big points for his team, but that crash with Laura was in the end his fault, and it's the reason for his 5-place grid penalty. But I'm sure he will bounce back here.
And I think the same will go for Evan Byrne really. Well, I say that really because he has been quite unlucky really. If I bring up a statistic really about Evan Byrne's season really, if we're going to bring up on the topic of grid penalties, I'm just trying to have a look at his statistics this season. He has retired, of course, 5 times this season in the last 8 races. He's only finished 3 times so far this season. 2 of them, of course, being a podium, with one of them being a win, and a 4th place at the Monaco Grand Prix. He just really has not had any luck this season. Obviously, last time out in France, it was obviously his own fault, really, that the crash happened, which is why he's landed himself a 5-place grid penalty. But season as a whole, really, Dennis, he just really has not had the luck.
No, not really, because when he's finishing race, he's scoring very, very good points. But sadly, he doesn't finish a lot of races. We've seen 5 retirements out of 8 races. And in the chat, he of course put he has a 33 finish rate in the last 21 races, which is a bit shocking to have such a bad finishing rate. But yeah, we all hope that he can finish a lot more races in the next few races.
Indeed so, as we look at the 2 Lamborghinis who are together on the racetrack, it's fair to say that the last 2 races have not been very kind to the Lamborghini team, it's fair to say, due to a number of incidents they've got themselves involved with, and they'll be looking to see if they can recover here at the Austrian Grand Prix, especially given that they've lost a little bit of ground as a result of the last race to the McLaren team in the Constructors' Championship. So that's something that they'll need to hopefully try and address here at the Austrian Grand Prix. And so that's that really. So far then, we're just over 23 minutes to go. This is what the leaderboard currently looks like. It's Chris Chatfield in first, with Rahul Patel in second, before Ra decides to bully me even more in the stream chat. Evan Byrne in third, with George Roke in fourth. Franco Garber is in fifth, with Jesus Perrin in sixth. Laura Chung is currently seventh, and worth a note that the top 7 separated by just under a tenth of a second. Franco Lopez is in eighth, Joseph Wellows ninth, with Andre Videri in 10th. Then it is Amar Carr in 11th, with Dennis Graff, the Ferrari test driver, in 12th. Then it is Daniel Fraser 13th, with David Kupak in 14th. Roland Motra in 15th. Jamie Griffiths is in 16th, followed by the Williams test driver of Adam Chobot, who is in 17th. Then it is Julius Anderson 18th. Kirishima DeRosa is in 19th, followed by Miklos Gau in 20th, and then it is Amelia Wilson 21st, and Roman Quarg in 22nd position. The whole pack, in fact, separated by only 0.8 of a second. I think, given that how close the pecking order is this season compared to last season, and given how short this track is and how quick it is, I don't think it's too much of a surprise that we should see that the whole pecking order is separated by under a second, Dennis.
Yeah, indeed. As I said earlier, especially on this track, we see how close the pack is, and qualifying will be interesting because one mistake can send you, I would say, three or 4 places down. Here could send you 10 places down. So it's very important in qualifying later on to not do a mistake, to get a clean lap in, also without traffic. Yeah, that will be the key factor for qualifying later.
Indeed so, and obviously it'll be very interesting to see how that one plays out. We briefly were riding on board a little bit earlier on with Miklos Gau in the AlphaTauri, of course. AlphaTauri having another strong race, it seemed, despite the car they've got at the French Grand Prix. David Kupart finishing in 9th place, and as a result, it means that AlphaTauri, surprisingly, despite the car they've got, currently up in 8th place in the Constructors' Championship. Of course, on a countback of 3rd places, of course, because obviously AlphaTauri have had a podium this season, whereas Alfa Romeo, who you would expect would be probably a little bit higher in the Constructors, given the car they have, currently down in 9th position. And a very good result for David Cooper last time out, as Byrne is currently 1,000th up on Chatfield in the first sector, but 46,000th down on his personal best. So that could indicate that Chris Chatfield's first sector was probably a little bit weak, really, but the last 2 he was able to gather it back up. But as I was saying, David Cooper, once again, with another great performance in that AlphaTauri, Dennis, and who knows, really? Could he potentially, during the sign-ups, cause a bit of a stir?
Maybe, but we cannot see in his head, so everyone will know what he will planning to do when the sign-ups actually happen. But as I said, so far he's having a good season. Scored points 3 times, and he should be ahead of his teammate in the championship. But of course, Miklos had the podium in Monaco. That really doesn't reflect the season so far for David. I think he's doing quite a solid job.
Indeed so, and it'll be very interesting to see, of course, what happens with Cupot during the sign-up process, because there's a lot of people who believe he should be at a better team for next season, given the car he's at, but it all really depends really on what David wants to do, really, of course. So, anyway, we'll move on for the moment. We were talking about Alfa Romeo briefly there. Of course, they've now slipped to 9th in the Constructors thanks to David Kupok's points finish. Although, if you look at what happened at the French Grand Prix, it shouldn't have really happened because Andre Videri, who it's fair to say has not had the best of seasons, it's fair to say, he's not really replicated the performances that we saw from him in 2020, was looking like we were starting to see the old Videri back in the French Grand Prix because he was looking like he was set for a very strong points finish at the French Grand Prix, but of course was taken out by Laura Chung, of course, who obviously got that 25-second time penalty, which she deemed at the time was quite harsh. I'm presuming she still kept that opinion to this day. But it was a shame for Videri because it was looking like he was finally going to have a strong race, Dennis.
Yeah, indeed. It was a very big shame for Videri. He, until that point, was not having a good season, and he still doesn't have a good season because he has 0 points, and his teammate Rowan Quark, I think, has 20 points. But he's always the guy who gets involved in either incidents or gets mechanical failures. He really needs to turn his luck around, otherwise he will have a hard time to keep his seat.
Indeed so, especially with so much competition trying to go for the seats, of course. It's speculated that there's quite a bit. There could be quite a lot of strong competition coming their way in the sign-ups. Not just for Alfa Romeo, I just mean in general, really. But anyway, we're looking at Franco Garma, who was purple in the first sector and actually goes to the top. He breaks into the 1 minute 4s there. 1 minute 4.979 for Franco Garma, who is determined to get back on form here at Red Bull's home race, and probably hoping that the little bit of a cheeky dig that Mercedes have done to Red Bull with their livery this week doesn't get in the way of him, really. But anyway, as he now comes up through Remus now, then will he be looking to try and further improve on that? He is so far. He's only up by 100th though in the first sector, so we'll keep an eye on that to see if he can further improve on this lap, either by looking at him or via looking just on the timing screens, because we don't know what auto camera is doing these days, especially on this game, of course. And it decides to cut away as I say that. But anyway, as well as meanwhile breaks into the top 10 in the McLaren to go up into 10th position. He's just in front of Graf and the Williams in front. Not sure which Williams that is. Garber is still up
Griffiths.
in the. It was Griffiths in the second sector, but only by 16,000.
Robots is a bit.
In 60,000 of a second. Thanks for clearing that up. But let's see, can he improve a little bit more? Gamba across the line, and he does by 23,000 of a second. A 1 minute 4.956. The Italian is now on, and as mentioned, looking to see if he can get a good weekend at Red Bull's home Grand Prix. Of course, this was where they launched this car, of course, which obviously shocked people when they introduced this livery, of course, because there were a few people expecting it to be quite similar, but they were obviously surprised when they saw the white and red for Red Bull this season, as he's actually made a mistake there. I just noticed coming out of Remus, just had a little bit of a wiggle going through into there. But obviously last season, of course, Franco Gamba actually crashed here last season after a bit of a pit lane incident with Armar car, which many people deemed was the deciding factor of the 2020 championship last season, and the thing that, along with several things that contributed to Armar car's season in 2020, was one of the things that cost him the championship in 2020. I think both Franco and Armar, given that they look to be championship contenders this season, will be looking not to replicate that this season. And speaking of pit lane accidents, this was of course where Franco Lopez had his infamous crash here last season, which prevented him from taking part in Q3 and meant he started in 10th place, which ironically started the conversation of the spare car ban. The accidental crash that happened with Franco Lopez, which saw his car get stuck in the garage, did prompt the first spark of conversations for the spare car ban, as we've got now, of course. So, of course, we know that the spare car ban does not count for any pit lane entrance incidents, as we know, as we saw at the Monaco Grand Prix a couple of rounds ago, and it would be the same will be applied here as well if the same happens this week as well, as Garba's actually up again in the first set. I think maybe because of a little bit of slipstream that he got, but we'll keep an eye on that. And, well, Lopez, I think it's fair to say, it's Kraga's a moment going through into the second to last corner there. It's fair to say, Lopez, we're hoping that doesn't happen again this season, Dennis.
Hopefully not. He also put the jet one mistake in the street, and I don't like it. Hopefully he will, not hopefully, but I think he will be determined to not put it into any barrier, and he will hope that he will have a good quali later on. Yeah.
Very interesting indeed, as the Gamba does further improve, but only by 5,000 of a second. He's now on a 1 minute 4.951, as Wilson is trying her best to pass. I think that's Miklos Gal going into the first corner there, which she does do pretty easily there. Gal doesn't put too much of a fight on the first corner. But, yeah, so obviously Lopez, as we mentioned, hoping that pit lane entrance accident doesn't happen again this season. I was thinking about another topic I was going to talk about, but it's kind of slipped my head. But now I've remembered it, of course. Of course, of this week, of course, not only do we have F2 in the top class, of course, we also have the debut of the Entrance Series, of course, which is making its debut tomorrow for both the qualifying and the race. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, the qualifying session is a 15-minute session. Of course, it is quite a short qualifying session, and the race shouldn't last too long either. I think it will just be a simple sprint race, from what I understand. It's not going to have any pit stops. But yeah, the Entrance Series finally starting tomorrow. Of course, it was meant to start last season, if you may remember, but because I had to retire from hosting Formula E and BTCC due to issues I had with my gaming laptop, it meant that Yuri had to assume the host of Formula E and BTCC, which meant he had to push back that series for an extra season. But now he's been able to find a balance in trying to find out what he can do with the entrance series. Now he's put his own scheduling really into Formula E and World Champ Car. It's obviously happening tomorrow, of course. Now, it will start tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. BST, and the race should be around 4 p.m., of course, because I would imagine that the mistake rate will be a thing as well in the entrance series. So Yuri will, of course, need a bit of time in between when the qualifying session finishes and then when the race. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so that's that really. So yeah, we'll start at 3:30 and then the right. So the mistake rate, apparently Yuri's just told me that because I forgot that you can't hear him on the stream. It will not have the mistake rate on it, basically to ensure that there's no delays with the top class race, really. So just bear in mind of that, and I will remember that in future when it comes to scheduling the putting the graphic up for the entrance series in the future. So I will remember that in future. So anyway, as that happens tomorrow, and it should be quite interesting. Now, from what I gather from Yuri, from some conversations I've had with him, the mod that is going to be used for the entrance series is an old Formula 3000 mod. So bear in mind with that, because that is what the cars will look like tomorrow when we get there, of course. I do believe there will be commentary for it, hopefully, if anybody's offering, because Yuri has opened the door for commentary to happen. So you might also hear my voice tomorrow before the top class race. So it gives me some extra work, I guess. But anyway, also as a reminder about the entrance series, the point system, I think, will be the same as what it is in the top class, of course. And, of course, a bonus point for the fastest lap of the race should they finish in the top 10. So yeah, that's that. Obviously, it's lasting for 5 races. Of course, it starts this week at the Red Bull Ring. Then it's off to Silverstone. Then Budapest. We're going to have a little bit of a pit lane incident. And luckily, it seems that Chobot and whoever that Red Bull was, I think it was Garber, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Garber because it says
it was Rogue.
his name.
Oh, no, this is Garber.
It was Garber. It was Garber. It has the Honda logo on it.
Okay.
So they actually were well behaved on that occasion. So well done, Adam and Franco, on that occasion. But yeah, as I was saying there before that pit lane thing happened, it starts at the Red Bull Ring, not wing. Jesus Christ, we're not racing at Hangar 7.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Not racing at Hangar 7. So, no, we're racing at the Red Bull Ring for round 1. Then we're racing at Silverstone next week. Then it's Budapest at the Hungaroring. Then Spa. And then the final race at Monza. Of course, this will have an impact for sign-ups as well. I wouldn't say too much with the top class, but I would say series is around the top class. So, like DTM, World Champ Car, and Formula E. Maybe F2 to a certain degree, but maybe not too much, I would say. Just want to point that out there. But anyway, that's for tomorrow, and I hope it should be a very exciting first ever entrance series race as well. So that should be something to look forward to. Whilst I was speaking about the entrance series, Franco Lopez has gone into second place, so it's now a Franco 1-2 at the top at the moment. Garber leading from Lopez. Of course, the pair of them shared row 4 on the grid at the French Grand Prix, with Garber 7th and Lopez in 8th, although in the end Lopez ended up finishing in 4th. And might as well talk about Mercedes a little bit, Dennis, about on the topic of that, because we've noticed a few times during the season their qualifying just seems to be all over the place, it's fair to say, but I don't think there's any dispute that their race pace is pretty good, and that is clearly the thing that has kept them in this championship so far.
Yeah, indeed. So far, they're somehow leading the championship, both championships, which I didn't expect it after a few races, especially with the qualifying performance they don't have. Because I think it happened in my memory only once that both advanced to Q3, or not even this, but I'm not sure. But almost every time.
Talking about this season with Mercedes.
This season, I know.
I think it's twice, if I'm not mistaken, because I went and double checked it recently. I think they've actually done it twice this season. But to go on that topic, it's not happened too often this season, which is a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, indeed. It seems like they're more focused on race pace.
Ooh.
As Byrne goes off and lost his front wing, and he will go into the wall, but he didn't lose the wheel, which is good.
That's brilliant That's brilliant car control there from Evan Byrne, because I did think for a minute he was going to slam it into the wall there, but clearly able to keep that on the track. But yeah, a mistake there from Byrne, and he's lost a bit of front wing, but luckily the pits were just there, so it shouldn't take too long for them to change the front wing, as we're going to have a look at a bit of a replay. It just looked like he went a little bit too fast there, Dennis.
Yeah, as you look at the replay, and Yep, indeed, he's going a bit too fast. One out of road, lost his part of front wing on the curve, and was lucky to not hit the wall there. So as I said, good car control from Evan Byrne.
To answer a question from Evan in the stream chat, because I don't think he quite heard me. From what I gather from Yuri, it's a Formula 3000 mod that is being used, an old Formula 3000 mod. So that's what's being used, not an A1 GP mod that you was hoping for. It's an old Formula 3000 mod. I think just to make more sense, really, given the type of series it is, really. So that's that. So never mind. Anyway, well, I was just asking a question that was above anyway. So, anyway, as we now look at Jesus Perin, who's currently stuck behind both Williamses at this point in time.
He hit anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, he won't have to bother with them too much. Currently lying in 8th place so far in this practice session, as we see the two Ferraris together of Chris Chatfield and Dennis Graff at the moment. And, of course, you'll see Jake Galloway in the car during qualifying, of course, Dennis doing a requested practice session. We did expect this from Dennis Graff this season, of course, when he was announced as the Ferrari test driver, that he'd be doing this quite often, because that's what he did when he was the Williams test driver, so it's no real surprise there. But anyway, we're now running on board with Perinin, but of course he's going to be ducking into the pits, so it won't really matter if he's trying to overtake. While the Williams is there, currently lying in 8th position. And we were just talking a little bit there about Williams there, Dennis, because I think it's safe to say the season has not really gone well for them. It's very clear that they've got a better car than AlphaTauri, it's fair to say, but their consistency this season has been, I put it, a bit off, it's fair to say, and so far they languish last in the Constructors' Championship, which is a bit of a shame, really, because obviously Felix and Jamie were hoping that the car would be a little bit further forward this season, but it just really hasn't gone according to plan for them.
Sadly not, especially for Felix, who is currently last in the championship, who had 2 retirements. And I think his best position was P12. I think it was Monaco. Yes, it is P12 Monaco. So for him, it's not so far very, I would say, unlucky season, but also his performances are not the best. But for Jamie Griffiths, it's been better. He at least scored points. Scored 6 points so far. And he finished every race so far, but as you said, they definitely hope for better things this season.
You say that about Jamie. It's fair to say you could argue he's had, in points terms, a better season than Felix, but it has been a bit of a shaky season for Jamie, it's fair to say, because the last couple, especially at the last race at the French Grand Prix, he was nowhere. And I think it's happened a couple of times this season with Jamie. It does make you wonder, is he I don't even know what I was going to ask there. I've lost the words. So, it doesn't outtake TV. But, yeah, for Jamie, it's been a bit of a rocky last couple of races, it's fair to say, because he's been really struggling with pace.
Yeah, that is true as you said it. I forgot already that he had such a bad performance at France, with being the slowest of all by a lot. And yeah, he both really need to step up their game.
Indeed so. Well, it's fair to say, as I mentioned earlier, Williams didn't expect to be last in the Constructors, but here we are, of course. With just over 5 minutes to go now, we've just got 5 minutes left in the session, just over it, I should say. This is what the leaderboard currently looks like, as Gally ensures that the whole pack is separated by 8/10 there by improving on his lap. It's Garber at the top with Lopez in second, then it's Chatfield who are riding on Baldwin in third, Patel fourth, Byrne in fifth, then it is Roke in sixth, followed by Chung in seventh, then Perrin in eighth, Carr in ninth, Willows is in 10th, followed by Graff in 11th, then it is Fraser 12th, Motrin in 13th, Federi 14th, De Rosa 15th, then it is Kupok 16th, Chobot in 17th, Quag 18th, Anderson is in 19th, followed by Wilson in 20th, Griffiths in 21st, and Miklos Gau in 22nd and last. As mentioned, the whole pack separated by just 8/10 of a second. Earlier on, the top 7 were only separated by just under a 10th, but ever since Garber went to the top of the timing sheets, that gap has kind of increased, and now it's only Lopez that's under a 10th away from the man currently at the top of the timing sheets. Quag improves a little bit further, but only into 18th position. As he'll be looking to have a better weekend here at Austria, because at the last race in France, Dennis, Quag, he seemed a little bit off at his home race, really, which is a little bit odd because so far this season he's had a brilliant return to the top class, but in the last race he just seemed to be a little bit off.
Yeah, indeed. For him, his pace was not the best. I think, his P12. So of course he crossed the line in P13, but after Chang's penalty, he was promoted into P12. But yeah, the last race wasn't really good for him.
No, it wasn't, and he'll be looking to have a better weekend here at Austria. Chatfield, meanwhile, has got up into second place, so there's now 2 drivers under a tenth behind Franco Gamba, as Perinen gets by on, I think that's Dennis Graff there, he's just got by, because obviously Chatfield just crossed the line a little bit earlier on. So Chatfield up to second. Gall has now ensured that the whole pack is now separated by 7/10 of a second, so I think that's the closest we've seen in a practice session. I could be wrong on that. And so is Videri now then, who's currently in 14th position at the moment, so not the best of sessions so far for both Alfa Romeos, as he does not improve on that occasion and remains in 14th. Only 2 drivers in the pits at the moment, which is Franco Gamba and Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini. So as that is, there's now just over 3 minutes to go in this practice session. We're heading into the closing stages of this practice session now then, as there's now 3 cars in the pits because Chris Chatfield has now joined both Patel and Gamba, and I would imagine that might be a session done with, given how much time there is left on the clock, unless he can get out before the 1 minute 4 threshold. So here is Kirishima De Rosa, meanwhile, who's currently in 15th. McLaren not having the best of practice sessions, but you never know. They could be saving it for the race. And it's fair to say for De Rosa, Dennis, I mean, he's currently down in 17th in the Drivers' Championship. Of course, he still has shown some brilliant pace, but he has been involved in quite a few questionable accidents this season.
Yeah, especially at Portugal, where he was leading, and he was. It was looking that he will achieve his first win, but sadly he was involved in that crash with Jake Galloway and David Kubok, and in the end he got stuck in the pits because his teammate Joseph Willows was served right before him, and something went wrong for Kiro, but only there, and of course in Monaco, where he achieved the P5 finish, and also at Germany race, no, not Germany, but China race, got 4 points. Apart from that, the season has been, I have to say it, horrendous. He's currently P17.
You were saying, sorry.
Wait, what did you say?
No, I wasn't saying anything. I thought you'd finished.
No, not yet. But yeah, I wouldn't expect the McLaren to be in P17, although he's quite close to the guys in front of him, but so far the season has been quite disappointing.
Yeah, especially when you look on the upper side of the garage, it seems that Willers is having a better time at the moment. Well, we've got a few minutes left, and I think we're going to ride on board for the remainder of it. Car didn't improve, but Perinen did, thanks to a Billis slipstream. He now goes up into 6th position. Quark and Motrin don't improve. Here comes Quark's teammate, Andrea Videri, who's just coming down at the pit straight now then. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. He stays where he is now then. Here comes Laura Chung in the Lamborghini. In fact, Motrin and Videri have got checkered flags next to their name, so they've reached their lap limit, which is about 30 laps. As Gamba is going to have one more lap before the session comes to a close. Chobot crosses the line, no improvement. He stays where he is, which is 17th. Here comes Gal across the line. No improvement for him. Wilson goes to 20th, so actually pushes Griffiths down to 21st position. Here comes Julius Anderson, who currently lies down in 19th position, as Anderson now then rounds the final corner and onto the pit straight he will go. Anderson across the line, and he does not improve. He stays where he is. Evan Byrne crossed the line, no improvement for him, as Kirishima De Rosa crosses the line, stays in 15th position. David Kupok in the Alpha Tauri now then, with just over 30 seconds to go. No improvement for the German as Roke's session has come to a close. His car has been overtaken there by Jesus Perinen in front, and Perinen's lap, I would imagine, has been compromised as a direct result of that. Perinen across the line will go the Renault driver, no improvement, and same will go for Carr. Graf remains where he is, which is P11. Lopez stays where he is, which is P3. Quark stays where he is. Motrin stays where he is as well. 12 seconds left. Patel will just have enough for a lap. 10, 9, 8, 7, and then it is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0. Checkered flag is out. That is the end of the session. Gamba was the last one to cross the line there. Only just. So Gamba last to cross the line. Gal now then coming down the pit straight in the Alpha Tauri. Can he get out of last? No, he can't. He stays in last. Wilson stays in 20th. Here comes Anderson, who also doesn't look like he's on an improvement now then, as he now rounds the final turns on the racetrack now then into the final corner and onto the pit straight. He will now go as Julius Anderson is now going to cross the line, and he does not improve. Chatfield just getting some mileage in for Ferrari. Q-Pot coming back into the pits as Perinen is up on his personal best in the first sector and still up in the second sector, but only by 37 thousandths of a second now. Then can Perinen get a little bit higher up in the timing tower before the session comes to an end? He could get above Byrne, but let's see, and maybe even Patel. Across the line goes Perinen, and he actually loses time in the last sector. He doesn't improve. Graf across the line stays where he is now. Then Carr has finished. Lopez across the line. He does not improve. Motrin now then across the line in the Aston. He doesn't improve. As now we look at Patel, who just comes out of the final turn in the Lamborghini. And across the line, no improvement for him. As now we look at Chung, and she's got Gamba behind, who will be the last car to cross the line. Chung across the line, she will go. No improvement, and same goes for Gamba, and that is the session done with. So it's Gamba at the top with Chatfield in second, and Lopez who rounds out the top 3. What do you think of that session, Dennis?
Yeah, it was a good session. Lots of close action. Also, it feels so close. Like I've never seen it so close for a long time. But the qualifying will be an absolute blast.
Will be indeed. Well, we're just going to take a brief pause for a moment. We're going to obviously end this stream and then come back with a fresh stream for the qualifying session. But in the meantime, I've been JW97. He's been Dennis, and we'll see you in just a little bit for the qualifying session. See you in a bit.